Yeah, first off, just who are you? What do you do?
So I'm currently working in the autonomous vehicle industry. Basically, I work at a company developing software to drive a car autonomously. As part of that, I'm here in the West Coast for a couple of months. I got here last week and still settling in, handling the jet lag. Outside of that, I've been well, I started developing games about 11 years ago. Initially as a hobby, then I tried to make a profession out of it, to publish apps and sort of take it to the next level. That was for about a year after I graduated. And since then, during that year, I couldn't really get any financial stability out of developing games. So after that, I just joined, based on stuff I did in game development, I joined the company I work for today. And I've been focused on that ever since, constraining sort of my game development activities to more of participating in jams. And, generally when I have a day or two where I can, I try to develop a game, but much less focused than it was before. So that was about 4 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. How did you get started with making games?
So I guess it's the way most people get started with it. I played a lot of video games as a kid. I liked it. And I liked other things like drawing and making up stories and making up stuff, basically. So going from there to game development made sense in a way. For a while during high school and during the few years after high school, I was more into writing short stories and stuff like this. And then I started casually getting interested in game development. I studied computer science, so I learned programming in my first couple of years at university, and it made sense to use that to develop games. And the programming language I was using mostly was Java. So from there, I started frequenting, I don't know if they still exist yet, but there were javagaming.org forums. And Notch, the guy who made Minecraft, he used to be a regular there. And one day he posted a time lapse of his developing Breaking the Tower, which was an entry for Ludum Dare that he developed in a couple of days. And the time lapse for me was super impressive. I think that was 2008, 2009. And since that video, I started exploring how to develop games more in earnest, let's call it, until at the end of 2010. I think Super Crate Box by Vlambeer got released. And I found out about the website called Flash Game License, where you could basically develop a small game in Flash and sell a license for it. So it seemed like an interesting thing to do. From there, I started looking at frameworks I could use, and I found Flixel, which was a Flash-based library at the time. Now it's moved to HexFlixel. There's HexFlixel, which is even bigger than the original Flixel. And I used that to make a small game resembling Vlambeer's Super Crate Box. And I actually managed to sell a sponsorship for it for $250. And from there, it became something I enjoyed doing more and more. And I sort of started digging deeper into it.
Cool. So let's see, you said you're involved with the Palestine scene, but you started with Israeli's game development scene. How does that work?
So first I started completely solo, and for most of the time I've been making games, I've been making them solo, aside from 2 or 3 games that I've developed with other people. And the way I started was just basically being on international forums and international websites and platforms and stuff like this. I didn't know that an Israeli game development scene existed, or that a Palestinian one existed. And then in 2013, 2014, I started looking around, and I found a Facebook group with Israeli game developers. It was pretty small, a couple hundred members at the time. So I joined there and I started getting involved with the scene, attending meetups and conferences and stuff like this. They were gradually growing and arranging all those stuff. And at the time, I didn't think there were any Arabs inside Israel that were attending that sort of thing. So it felt like I was alone in that regard. And of course, I didn't think there was a Palestinian scene at all. After several years of attending these meetups and being involved in Global Game Jam, for example, and stuff like this in Israel, I attended a game jam, an online game jam that's for the Arab world. That was called Game Zanga, and it was organized by a guy in Iraq. And I thought it's a nice way to sort of get some affiliation or connection to that part of my, my identity. And during that game jam, I placed second out of about 80 or 90 entries. And so Ahmed, he got a message saying from the organizer of the competition saying, well, congratulations to your guy who got second place and stuff like this. And Ahmed contacted me and said, who are you? Like, why don't we know you? And from there, I started talking with them, and I attended a Global Game Jam in Ramallah. And I attended another event in Ramallah, and I've been more in contact with the Palestinian scene based off of that. Now the whole thing of, like I wrote to you in our correspondence over mail, that like I don't consider myself representative of a Palestinian game developer, largely because there are several experiences that Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza go through that I haven't really experienced to that extent. I don't have some daily struggles that people living in the West Bank and Gaza struggle with, struggles that those people struggle with. On the other hand, I can't be looked at as an Israeli game developer because I'm Palestinian, first of all, and second of all, because there are a lot of things that separate me from Israeli game developers as well. More on the political side and on the cultural side and on a lot of things. So that's why a lot of the games I've developed, a lot of my journey in game development was characterized by this feeling of being isolated. Because in the Israeli game scene, I'm that Arab guy. And in the Palestinian scene, I'm not really embedded in it. First of all, in terms of location, it's hard for me to attend meetups in Ramallah. But also in terms of, I don't suffer the same struggles those people suffer, So it's a bit presumptuous of me to say that I'm a Palestinian game developer. I take pride that I'm a Palestinian game developer, but still there's that disconnect there. So that's what I was talking about when I said that maybe I'm not representative of that.
Did you attend in-person meetups in Palestine then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I attended a Global Game Jam in Palestine, and I also attended, they did the whole exhibition of games that we developed during that Global Game Jam, so I attended that as well. Yeah, if it's possible, I try to go, but it's not always possible.
Yeah. What would you say the differences between the two scenes are?
The Israeli scene is much more advanced at the moment. It's an older scene. People have been at it for a much longer time. The nature of the Israeli scene is also that there's a lot of money in it, right? And you have a lot of companies doing stuff that are maybe tangential to games, but also you can consider them as part of the gaming industry. So companies like Clarium, which develop mobile RPGs, stuff like this, and companies like Playtika, which got recently purchased by the Chinese, which does social casino, and it's pretty huge. There are a lot of companies like this, and there are a lot of indie developers and indie studios. I think some guys, I forgot their name, Lonebot. They won several jams globally, and they're pretty well known. And you have a lot of aspiring indie studios. Actually, in 2017, 2016, I met another Arab game developer inside Israel. And in 2017, I met two more. And we tried to form a game studio. But it was at the time towards the end of my year in serious game development, and as I was getting jaded a bit with it, and I wanted to find a real job. It's a horrible thing to say for me, but it was what I felt at the time. And we tried to form a studio towards the end of that year, but after 2 months, I dropped out to go work in the software industry. And they're actually still active until today. They got funding, and they made it into a real studio. The studio's name is Obscure Games. If you want to look it up, and I can connect you with them if you'd like. So yeah, what was the question again? I kind of forgot. The difference between the Israeli scene and the Palestinian scene. So yeah, so the Israeli scene supports all sorts of these smaller studios, and it's also has a lot of large scale companies working in social casino and in other avenues that are you can consider to be related to gaming. The Palestinian scene is much smaller than this, both in terms of the number of people working on games there, and it's what you would call a growing scene, right? It's still in its initial phases, I would call it. Also, in terms of the quality of games that are being produced, the Palestinian scene is again still growing. So you can find games that you would enjoy that are developed by Palestinian developers, but they're not in the scale of what you would find in the West anywhere. So I think that's something to look forward to. Like in a few years, I think we'll have several studios, several creators, talented creators in the West Bank and Gaza that can really break through to the global scene. But it's still going there.
I forgot to ask, what kind of games do you make?
I make several. So mostly I do platformers. I like procedural generation as well. So either I do some procedural generation with platformers, or I do just games that are super casual, arcadey type stuff. Almost all of my games have pixel art. In the beginning, I started off because I didn't have the necessary time to start doing 3D, and I also didn't really like it that much. And then it became something that I actually enjoyed, the whole pixel art thing, and I've grown pretty decent at it. In the beginning, it looked horrible because it was just programmer art, but then as I started doing it more and more, I started getting pretty good at it. Most of the games I make, you can put into one of two categories: either super casual games, either mobile or web, or platformers. So the platformers can also be super casual, where you have one screen with enemies where you need to survive or achieve something. In fact, my most well-known to date game probably is in that genre. And the other category is full-fledged platformers, where you have several levels, or a Metroidvania or something like this, where you explore it and gain power-ups and become able to explore other areas. So stuff like this. The biggest game I've done to date is actually like this. I think it's still available on Google Play, because most of my other games were taken down because I don't update the whole, target audiences and stuff like this. But that's one you can find. My most well-known game to date was actually called Drink, Beer, Neglect Family. And it's an arcade one-screen platformer where you have to drink beers. The more beers you drink, the higher your score. And with every beer you drink, the level becomes harder to navigate because you have additional obstacles. And also you have an effect, a changing effect that you get once you drink a beer. So if you drink a beer, you become dizzy, and the right button takes you left and the left button takes you right. or you throw up once every 5 seconds, or the screen flashes. I actually didn't know screen flashing was problematic for some people until I made that game, and I got comments saying screen flashing not cool, man, you should remove that or whatever. So I added a warning to not play the game if you suffer from something like that.
What was the title of it?
Drink beer and neglect family.
Neglect family. Oh, here it is on Congregate.
Yeah, but it's Flash, so I don't know if it will work.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, probably won't.
That's the problem. There's one on Android if you have an Android device, and there are some YouTube videos of it that I found pretty interesting when it happened. You know, I didn't know people would take games you posted on Newgrounds or Congregate and make videos about them, but it happened, so that was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, this art looks pretty nice.
Yeah, and that's one. There are two versions of it actually. And both I consider not to be my finest pixel art. The sort of the best game I've made in my estimation would probably be Tower of the Wizard, a Game Boy Adventure, something like this, which was a 4-color game in the style of Game Boy games, and it's a Metroidvania. So that one I also that's the one I like the most. I like to play the most.
Tower of Wizard.
Tower of the Wizard, a Game Boy Adventure.
Oh, and this is your itch page, I think.
Yeah, it's 87.itch.
Oh, it needs Flash. Wait, can I run this? No. Okay.
No, it's Flash, but try to. Yeah, there are videos on it, and it's also on Google Play if you have access to that.
Yeah. Yeah, this looks nice too.
Yeah.
Color scheme.
So my most award-winning game, which is just a game that won one award, was a game I did for Ludum Dare. I think it was 30. I want to say 32, but I'm not sure. And that one was a black and white Metroidvania thing called Avian Days. And that one was won a local Israeli award. It won like Israeli Game of the Year in the Jam game category. Even though I think it's a horrible game, but you know.
Wait, what was the title? Avian Ace?
Avian Days.
Days. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, here it is. Okay. Winner Best Game Jam. Oh yeah, it's got good animation. Yeah, it looks good for like, especially for like a Ludum Dare game.
Yeah.
The birds look really nice. I participated in this one, I think.
It's reminiscent. I think the graphics were heavily inspired by Cannabalt. If you played that.
Cannonball?
Cannabalt. It's a runner. Cannabalt, yeah. It's by the guy who made the library that I used for games, Flixel. So he made a runner game called Cannabalt, and the artwork is inspired by that.
Oh, here it is. Oh, I think I've seen this before.
Yeah, that one's pretty well known.
Yeah. Yeah, Ludum Dare 32. What did I did Ludum Dare 32. How high did you score on it on the Ludum Dare site?
I think 100 something overall. 160, 70, 80. Wasn't the best, you know, but
yeah.
The judges in the Israeli Game of the Year committee liked it enough.
Yeah,
So,
it looked cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Problem with most of the games that I make is that they're way too difficult.
Oh, yeah.
I've got that feedback many times. Somehow I'm not able to tune it down when working on a game, because you know the feeling when you're working in a game and you keep playing it.
Yeah.
And so it feels too easy, so you make it more difficult. And even then you tune it down because you know that's happening, but it's still not, you don't tune it down enough.
Yeah. I relate.
Something else that I like to play with when designing games is using like real world topics in games. So I've made a game about Donald Trump when he was running for president. And it was like you play a Mexican superhero. Like now I wouldn't make that game right now, but at the time I thought it was nice, it was fun. It's a bit problematic, I think, right now in today's day and age. It might be a bit problematic in that it sort of stereotypes like the Mexican superhero. He wears a sombrero and he throws tacos, something like this. It's pretty like today. I wouldn't make a game like that, but at the time I didn't know any better. I've also made the games that touch on the whole refugee situation in Syria and Iraq. That was 2015, 2016, and the situation there was pretty terrible. So I made two games on that. The first one was more allegorical. It was about a refugee in space running away from a city, and people. He was getting foreign help in the sense that the player was eliminating obstacles in their way, and supplying them with food, and just eliminating obstacles in their way. And in the end, the player would get to a spaceship that's supposed to take him out of that planet. And what happens is that the spaceship says, yeah, we don't have any place on Earth for you, so you should just stay here. We help you, but you should just stay here. And then I made another one that wasn't allegorical, where you actually just, where you're a lifeboat and you're rescuing drowning refugees. And I wanted to donate any money I made with that to charities helping refugees in the Mediterranean, but it didn't have any profits. So it's pretty hard to donate something that's, so,
What would you say your dream game is that you want to make?
So, Football Manager, the whole management simulation.
Yeah.
Imagine that crossed with a, Mountain Blade.
Yeah.
Obviously. So imagine that crossed with Mountain Blade, like Mountain Blade, but much more management heavy, where you can recruit procedurally generated characters, and each character would have their own strengths and weaknesses, and anyone can die, or they can rise up to become, heroes or advisors or stuff like this. You have to juggle managing your lands, your estates, stuff like this, with managing your own mercenary company. And the battle would be something you don't actively participate in, similar to Football Management. You don't participate in the game, but you are able to sort of manage troop deployment, morale, stuff like this, just the high level stuff. I think I'd love to do this. Another thing I love to do is sort of what No Man's Sky tried to do. And I've actually tried to do that in the course of a game jam. So there's a game called Pulp Galaxy that I developed with Pico 8. That was my first and only game with Pico 8, and I did it in the course of a game jam. And the goal was to make an expansive universe from just a couple of pixels and stuff like this, where you can explore and trade with planets, and random events would happen to you, stuff like this. So No Man's Sky, but let's say with a bit more emphasis on the story as opposed to mining and stuff like this.
I'm watching a video of it. Pico 8 I tried it once. It was really difficult.
It is. I tried it just that once, and I've never gotten back to it. It's really cool, but it's like, why use it if you want to?
It's a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you travel much, like to other events outside the country and stuff?
In the year where I was really working on this, yeah, I went to. Well, I did Casual Connect in Tel Aviv, so that wasn't much traveling. But I also went to Prague for a White Knights conference. And at the time, I was working with another guy to develop a mobile game. And we went and exhibited it there. was pretty good. For game-related stuff, I don't think I've traveled more than this. Yeah, it's pretty much it. Aside from, of course, going to Ramallah those few times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I like gone through all my questions. Let's see. Is there anything you want to promote, like your games or anything? Like
just 87.itch.io. That's where all my games are at. And I guess that's it. I also would like to give a shout out to Ahmad. He's the one who connected us. Also go check out his games, Ahmad Nairat. And check out any games by Palestinian creators. There are a lot of creative and talented people that could use the exposure and just the feedback. One of the things game development has taught me on the personal level was how to deal with bad feedback. Because a lot of the games that I was publishing on Newgrounds, and a lot of the comments you get are sometimes vitriolic and very aggressive. And in the beginning, it was very hard to deal with comments like this, but it teaches you to have tougher skin and to just, no matter how harsh the comment is, to get something good out of it. Like if a person has a comment that's 95% whatever, but that 5% is something you can use to improve your next game or your games. So why not use that? Even that said, there are some comments that it's pretty hard to get anything positive out of. Like the worst comment I think I've gotten on my most successful game, on Drink Beer Neglect Family. My speaker is disconnected. Yeah. The worst comment I think I've gotten, which was on my best game to date during Beer Neglect Family, was developer is idiot. So I take something positive out of that, but
yeah. Yeah. I don't know what you get out of it. Let's see. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I didn't ask you about anything you wanted to say.
I don't know, not particularly.
Okay.
Like
well,
I'm trying to think. I didn't prepare anything specific.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just if there's anything on your mind you wanted.
Yeah, I would also encourage people to use Hexflixel more. It's a beautiful game library. I guess. Oh, and check also Obscure Games, the guys I told you about, the Arabs inside Israel that are working on developing games. They also do pretty interesting stuff. So I think just that.
All right. Oh yeah, I think you're the first person I've talked to who doesn't use Unity.
I actually did use Unity. I was Casual Connect, right? And it was late 2016, and I was working. I was basically I was just off university, so I was making a lot of small games in a very short amount of time. And one of the games that I made, that plane game, attracted attention of somebody from one of the largest Israeli mobile game publishers. They were Taptail before, now they're Crazy Labs. So after talking with him, he said, I showed him a bunch of my games, and he said, okay, so this game would be interested probably to publish it, just first make it in Unity, and then make it have a fish theme as opposed to a plane theme. It was a plane dog fighting game. So make the theme about fish, so we can add more fish and monetize it better, and more like areas in the sea, and make it in Unity so that we can put all of our APIs in it. And so I didn't have a lot of experience with Unity, so I started looking around for people. At the time, I met a guy who's a friend of mine now. His name is Majd Abdelkader. He had a very successful Unity asset store. He still has it, called Puppeteer Inc. And I met him and I had a talk with him, and we decided to do the sport together. So my Unity learning project, you can call it, was the game I tried to later on sell to Taptail. It's also the game we exhibited at Prague at White Knights conference. For several reasons, it didn't end up happening. So I stopped eventually working on Unity. I acquired some experience with Unity, but I stopped working on it until I started working at the company I work for now. So my experience working on Unity and my experience on games in general and on procedural generation in general led to me getting the job as a simulation engineer. Basically, to develop something like Need for Speed or GTA 5, not that grandiose, but for in Unity for testing autonomous software. So instead of testing it on the road where there are real people, you test it in the simulator to see that it works and everything's fine. And from there, I started doing other things at this company, but that was what led me to this company, to my minimal experience with Unity, but my decent experience with game development, in combination with my computer science degree and other stuff. So Unity was not all bad to me.
Yeah. What is the company that you work for, if you're allowed to say?
Yeah, Imagery. It's imagery like the English word, but without the E at the end. So IMAGRY.
Oh, mapless autonomous driving. Yeah.
Yes.
That's neat. Do they have their own cars and stuff, or is it they working for like another company like Tesla or something?
No, we have our own cars, but we're still a relatively small company when compared with Tesla and Waymo. That's Google's autonomous vehicle department. So we have a different approach to what the big boys in the niche are doing, and we hope it's gonna be fruitful soon.
It's cool. Yeah.
It's why I'm here in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Currently.
Are you gonna move there, you think?
I mean, I hope so, but you never know. Right now, we're focused on getting the car to behave as best as possible in this area. We had a car in Arizona, in Tempe, for the past 3 years, and I've been there twice to do demos for investors and stuff like this. And to get the car demo ready. And now I'm here for, also to get the car ready to drive in a previously unseen environment. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, I'm watching the video here. It looks really cool.
Yeah, I think the video is from most of the videos are from Tempe, from Arizona. And it's all, it's undoctored footage. As far as we're not going to show the worst stuff. It's the driving that's fine, but you do see on the rare occasion some interventions where the driver takes the wheel because it's going to hit somebody. That happens.
All right, that's cool. All right, thank you for talking.
Anytime. It was great to meet you. I checked out your YouTube channel, and I didn't know you existed, basically. But yeah, now I have someone else to follow.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it was nice talking to you. I learned a lot.
Sorry again for the mix-up with the
Oh, that's sorry.
Okay.
I've messed up every time zone for every other interview I've done, so it's like All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Would you like me to connect you with some more guys if you want?
I would, but it's also you're the fourth person I've interviewed, so I have like so much footage now. I'm like, how am I going to put this into a video?
All right.
But I'll send you. Cool to meet them, but yeah.
I'll send you on the email.
All right, thank you. Yeah. All right.
Cheers.
Have a good day.
See ya.